All right, hi family. Welcome to Update with the Pastor, and this is the first part of May. And so I know right now that the big question that everybody is asking is when are we reopening the church? And then the second big question is how are we reopening the church? And those are great questions to be asking, and let you know that the staff and I have been working on a plan and a guideline to do so at the direction of the diaconate. And so we have created a document that answers those questions. I want to let you know that the document was created with the following criteria. First and foremost, it was prayed on over and over again, meditated on. And I want to let you know that one of the things that we must understand is it's very situational and it needs to fit our community. And I really think that when you look into our scripture, the guiding scripture of the Holy Bible, oftentimes people will say, oh, the Bible contradicts itself. Well, the real response is it does not contradict itself. There are right things to do at different situations. And so what are we going to do to reopen the church, and how are we going to do it is going to be done to fit our situation, our family, to do the best we can to protect our family as well as the community in which we are doing ministry. So here's what we are going to do. We are going to use a guideline that is scientific and gives us really a very conservative approach. And we're doing this because I truly believe that each person that God creates is created with a purpose in mind. In fact, this Sunday there's a great message that's coming from an interview that you'll get to see with that particular message. Anyway, these healers, these researchers, doctors, nurses, biotechnicians, all those folks that God created has placed into their head a brain that is magnificent and does many things. And God directs that. And so one of the things we're going to utilize is those people that God has created for that purpose, to give us good wisdom and good knowledge to make good decisions. So what we're doing is we're taking a percentage of the total testing that is going on right now of those who believe they have COVID. And then we are taking the number of positive tests that come from that. So positive results, which means they either have it or they have the antibodies to it, which means they had it. And that number will determine how we open. So for the first phase, we are going to maintain what we're doing now, which means that we are going to continue to worship online, continue to have small groups online, continue to collect food for the Bethel Pantry as we are, continue our ministry as we are doing it right now. And the next phase that will happen will be when the COVID positive tests percentage of total tests is less than 7% for a period of 14 days. Then we will be allowed to then come back to the church in waves. And so the first wave will be that the staff comes back and works, and that we will have our worship team come back and start producing our Sunday worship in the youth room, which is set up for worship. And so that's the first phase. The other two phases happen at 2.5% and less than 1%. And then we'll do certain things. More activities are added. The document is a living document, so it can change. But that's where we start. And I could share with you the different things we're going to do at different phases, but right now it's a moot point because we can't really do any of those until we get past this first 14 days. And so when we get past these first 14 days of 7% or less positive testing over total testing, then we'll move to that phase where the staff comes back to the church and does work there. So really what we're looking at is if everything goes in a good direction with the downward trajectory of the number of folks infected versus the total testing. If everything goes good and those 14 days continue to be consistent, which by the way, every phase that we have has a 14-day period, which is basically the gestation time of the virus, what we understand. But if every of those phases go 14 days at a time, we'll be back into the church in somewhat of a new normal in about a month and a half. So first part of July. So that is the hope. And I believe we have a good plan. The diaconate is looking at it right now, and we'll have it out available for you to look at soon. But that's what we're doing. And so here's why we're doing it. We are a part of a larger community, so we follow our government's directions when we feel it's best for us. And I think that they're making some good decisions for our economy. But the decision we made to look at it from this perspective was to make sure that we protect our family and those around us. Because here's what's really a little nervous at this point for not only myself and other church leaders I've talked to, but also the Secretary of KDHE, Dr. Norman, believes that there's going to be a surge of positive results because they're going to be doing more testing. And there are so many people that are asymptomatic that when they do these testing, even for folks who don't think they're sick, they'll show that they actually have the COVID. In fact, just last night, which would have been Tuesday, or Wednesday, the 6th of May, I was watching the news and they talked a little bit about a meat packing plant in Kansas that closed down for a short time. And I can't remember the exact state or the city it was in, excuse me. But there were over 400 people in that plant that were all tested and positive for COVID. And they said 95% of them were asymptomatic. What that means in reality is that those folks that were positive are, if they're in community and they don't know they're sick, they then are infecting folks and they don't even know it. And that's the real scare about this particular virus, is oftentimes those who don't even feel sick are sick. And the fear that we have is that we transfer that particular virus, because it's very contagious, to a person who has health issues. Because people typically aren't dying from the COVID, they're dying from what the COVID does to already existing health issues in the human body. So it accentuates it. So we don't want to be those folks that transfer it to folks that could be hurt from it and even die from it. So that's the approach we're taking, a very conservative approach. And again, we'll have the document available soon so you can look at it. But I want you to realize that it is a living document, so it can change based upon any information we get. Because what's happening too, just so you know, is we have a situation where there's a lot of unknowns. I was telling some folks the other day that when I was in high school and college, I was really good at algebra. Because algebra, you typically have one unknown. And that's what you're trying to figure out. So you have all these other knowns. You just have to figure out how to put it into a specific formula to find the unknown. In this situation, we have more than one unknown. There are several unknowns, and so it's difficult to have a cookie-cutter decision for everybody. So this decision that we're making is very conservative. I will own that, but I also love each one of you so much and care so much for you that when we come back, I want to make sure that it is right, so that we can do ministry together again the way that we've done before, but also do it in a healthy way. And my hope is this, that I'm not proven wrong. I really hope that. And the only way that I'm proven wrong is that if other churches go back quickly and they get sick and people eventually end up having an early death, that would be a terrible way to prove that I'm wrong or that I'm right. And when I say I say that loosely because I was not the only one that worked on this. I had many people working with me on this, as well as many conversations and meetings. And so I leave one last thing with you. It's an important thing. At the bottom of this document, when it comes out, you'll be able to see it. The resources I used were the best resources available, in my opinion, to us right now. So I used CDC, I used WHO, I used Johnson County KDHE, I used some other scientific sites that show good data, and how I vetted them was what's their benchmark. And so you'll see that the resources that are being used are really good resources, sound resources. Doesn't mean that they're always right. I'll say that, but they have a good benchmark, and it's a good place to start. So with all that said, we are in a phase 1, which means that we're continuing to do what we're doing right now for church, and we will get into phase 2 as soon as the positive results of all testing will hold less than 7% of positive testing over the next 14 days. So just be praying for that. And right now, we're in a trend of 4 days, so it's looking good. But mind you, if it spikes one day, then we're back to day 1. And that's just a conservative approach. So I just want to leave that with you and give you a little bit of an answer to that. I hope this was informative. And I know that you don't have the document in front of you, so it's hard to compare what I'm saying to what the document says. But as soon as the document is finished kind of thumbing through it, we'll get it in front of you. And again, it is a living document, so it can change based upon the new data we get. And so that's what I got to say. And last thing, very last thing, I think I already said last thing. So this very last thing is, please know I miss you terribly. I cannot wait. Well, I will wait, but it's difficult to wait to get back into community with you and do ministry. You mean very much to me, and I just value all of you, and pray everything's going well in your homes. Thank you for being available to talk when we call, as staff calling you, and again, share anything that you need, and we'd be glad to do what we can. Otherwise, we'll continue to just do what we're doing for a little while. So that's it for today. If you would like to see the next chapter, so to speak, in the devotion of Jonathan the Armor Bearer, click on devotion in your Be in the Know feed, and you'll be right there to see what I say about this next piece of that story of Jonathan the Armor Bearer. Take care now. Have a great day.